Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about graphing quadratics. Hopefully everyone had a good spring break. Um, but we'll go ahead and get right into the chapter 4, lesson 1 here. The first step in graphing a parabola will be to find the axis of symmetry. Okay? We're looking for the axis of symmetry, which if you're looking here at this example we have, it's kind of scrapped out here. This is a parabola, obviously U-shaped. The axis of symmetry, it's that vertical line that goes through the parabola that, kind of cuts it in half. And there's a formula for the axis of symmetry. X equals negative b over 2a. We'll be using that to find it. After we find the axis of symmetry, that gives us again, that's a vertical line. That's an x equals negative b over 2a line. So once we have that line, that gives us the x value of the vertex. Vertex is this point down here. It's an xy ordered pair, and that's what we're going to go find. We're going to go find the y value after we have the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry gives us the x value. We plug that into our equation, and then that's going to give us the y value. So then we'll be done with that second step, finding the vertex. After we do that, we're just going to create a t-chart and use that the axis of symmetry reflects points to help us graph these parabolas. So this isn't anything that's new to you guys. You guys have done this before in Algebra 1. We'll just be taking a quick look at it again today. So these problems, we're identifying the vertex and axis of symmetry of each, and then we'll sketch the graph. So remembering, we hadn't talked about this yet today, but we've talked about it before. This is standard form of a quadratic function. So a, b, and c, that's where that x equals negative b over 2a came from. So in this problem, we identify a to be, well, that's the coefficient of x squared, so that's 1. B in this problem is negative 8. And c in this problem is 16. So to find the axis of symmetry, that's x equals negative b over 2a. So in this problem, negative b, that's negative 8 over 2 times a is 1. So this is 8 over 2, which is 4. The axis of symmetry is x equals 4. So again, that's that vertical line that goes through our parabola. So we come over here to x equals 4. We draw our axis of symmetry. Label it over here. Okay. From there, we find the vertex. So we find the vertex. Again, that's an xy ordered pair. We use this x value in our original equation. So y is equal to, well, x value that we're using is 4, so 4 squared minus 8 times, instead of x, 4 plus 16. And we simplify this, so this is 16 minus 32 plus 16, so that ends up being 0. Y equals 0. So I plugged in 4 for x, I got 0 for y. So my vertex is at 4, 0. Over here to 4, 0, and I put a point. I've got my axis of symmetry. I've got my vertex. Now I just need to, that third step, make a t-chart. So when we go to make a t-chart, guys, that means we're going to be picking some x values to plug into this thing. We've already plugged in 4, and we got 0. So let's just plug in the values around it. Let's plug in 3 and 5. See, we got 3, 4, 5. So we're going to plug in 3 and 5 now. Okay. Plugging in 3 here, you would use a calculator. I probably would. But what that's going to look like, y equals, plug in 3 for x, so that's going to be 3 squared minus 8 times 3 plus 16. So this is 9 minus 24 plus 16. 16 and 9 are 25. 25 minus 24 would be 1, positive 1, so 3 goes to 1. Okay, so 3.31 is on our graph. Guys, the reason we use the axis of symmetry is because I can just reflect that point across. That means 5, 1 is also going to be a point. I go 1 to the left or 1 to the right of the axis of symmetry, and I can reflect that across. So 3 points, that's going to be enough to graph my parabola, and that's what we've got. All right, that's what the parabola should look like. So all of the next two examples are just going to go the same way, where we're going to, identify A, B, and C. Then we're going to find the axis of symmetry. Then we're going to find the vertex, and then we're going to make the t-chart last. Okay, and use the axis of symmetry and its reflective property. Okay, so let's continue. This next example here, y equals negative x squared minus 12x minus 39. So we identify A, B, and C. A here is negative 1, B negative 12, C is negative 39. Okay, so to find the axis of symmetry, again, that's x equals negative b over 2 times a. So in this problem, it's negative b, so negative b is negative 12 over 2 times a is negative 1. So this becomes positive 12 over negative 2, which is negative 6. So my axis of symmetry, that vertical line, is x equals negative 6. Over here, x equals negative 6, and I get my axis of symmetry plotted. Okay, so my parabola, it's going to be shaped around, it's going to be reflected across this axis of symmetry. So that gives me an idea, at least so far, of what my parabola should look like. The next thing to do would be to find the vertex. Again, we use, to find the vertex, we are using x equals negative 6. We're trying to find that xy ordered pair. Okay, and we go back and we plug that x into the original equation. So y equals, the x value I'm plugging in is negative 6. So negative x squared, so negative 6 squared, minus 12 times, I'm plugging in negative 6 for x, minus 39. So this becomes negative, negative 6 squared is 36. Again, you could use your calculator on these. I'd encourage it. But then this becomes what? Negative 12 times negative 6. It's positive 72 minus 39. So negative 36 minus 39. What's that going to end up being? I'm going to use my calculator. It's going to be negative 75 plus 72. So that's negative 3. Okay, so that gives me a y equals negative 3. So I plugged in negative 6 for x, negative 3 for y. So that's my vertex, negative 6, negative 3. So right there, that point that I've plotted on the graph. Now that is our vertex, negative 6, negative 3. From there, guys, we're making our t-chart. And again, we're wanting to pick x, but oh, yikes. Technology is leading me astray today. Let's see if I can go back. So that should be pretty accurate. Sorry about that. The technology's just kind of funny. All right, so again, like I was saying, we're choosing x values to plug in. Of course, guys, we've got the axis of symmetry, so just pick an x value around negative 6. So, negative 5. Goodness gracious, guys. Negative 5 or negative 7. All right. So we're going to plug in, well, we plug in negative 6, we got negative 3. So let's just plug in negative 5 and use that we can reflect it. Plugging that in again. This is not being very cooperative today. Plugging that into the original equation. which was negative x squared, so we're putting in negative 5 squared minus 12 times x minus 39. So we simplify all this, it's negative 25 plus 6 minus 39. And on a calculator, we're getting negative 4. So when I plugged in negative 5, I got negative 4. So I plot that point. I know that it's reflected across, so at negative 7, I'd also be at negative 4. And that is what our parabola should look like. Sorry with all the technical difficulties there on that problem, guys, but it's just this smart notebook isn't working very well today. So again, we repeated the same 3 steps. We found the axis of symmetry, found the vertex, made a t-chart, plotted our points. Okay. That's, again, what we'll do on this last problem here. If it'll let me scroll there. There we go. Alright, so A here is negative 3. That'll kind of change some things. We'll see how that changes our parabola. B is negative 24, and C is negative 52. So when we go to find the axis of symmetry, negative B over 2A. So negative B, that's negative 24 over 2 times A is negative 3. So positive 24 over negative 6. So that ends up being negative 4. So X is negative 4. That is our axis of symmetry. Over here. And we plot the axis of symmetry. Next step, find the vertex. We're just plugging in this x value. Plug that into the original equation up here. Okay? So y equals negative 3. Substituting in negative 4 where I see x. And here, guys, these numbers are going to get pretty big. Mental math is going to get pretty difficult. Negative 4 squared I know is 16, so negative 3 times 16 would give us a negative 48 here for the first term. Negative 24 minus, negative 24 times negative 4, excuse me. Again, I'm using a calculator here. Plus 96, and then a minus 52. So negative 48 plus 96 minus 52, going to get to negative 4. So your vertex is negative 4, negative 4. Okay. Here you're making your t-chart. Again, for picking x values that are around the vertex. So the vertex was negative 4, so I could probably plug in negative 3 or negative 5. We know that that's going to cause that reflection across the axis of symmetry. Well, let's just plug in negative 3 because it's the smaller number. So negative 3 squared minus 24 times negative 3 minus 52. Plugging negative 3 into the original equation. So that gives us negative 3 times, well, negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 times 9 gives us a negative 27. Plus 24 times 3, that's negative 24 times 3, plus 72 minus 52. So negative 27 plus 72 minus 52 is negative 7. So those are the points we should be plotting then. Negative 3, negative 7, negative 5, negative 7. And this parabola would be opening down. Alright. So that's what I want you guys doing on your homework. Find the axis of symmetry, the vertex, and then make your t-chart. Okay? Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Yes, we'll talk about it a little more on Wednesday morning. I'm back with you guys.